This anime begins by depicting a gloomy day with heavy rain, resulting in a drastic change in mood, where a boy and a girl appear to be very distressed. At that moment, they are together, and as a final act of their love, they intend to end their lives together. At that time, Sensei, who actually appears happier with the heavy rain because it means no one will hear them fall, is accompanied by his partner Sakshan, who also has a clear fate in mind. As she asks Sensei to bind himself to her with a red thread so they can be together for the rest of their lives. Moments later, before doing so, Sensei asks Sakshan to cheer up, as they will never be separated again. Unexpectedly, a truck suddenly veers at high speed, startling them, and ends the lives of the two teenagers. After the incident, Sensei wakes up in a strange castle that he doesn't recognize at all and thinks it might be another world after his death. Despite this, Sensei quickly dismisses the idea because the situation seems too strange for that, so he continues to think he might be in some sort of dream. However, to his surprise, a woman appears at that moment, confirming that all his assumptions are wrong. With a prompt greeting, the woman introduces herself as Annette, who has the task of guiding everyone who comes to this world, referring to Sensei as an adventurer. When Sensei approaches the window, he realizes that his current location is in a world different from the one he left behind. The reason Sensei is in another world is that he is a chosen one. According to Annette, this world is shrouded in darkness with strange creatures from this new world wandering around, so Sensei must be the hero who brings light to it. Despite this, Sensei still has many questions in his mind, such as why he couldn't do the unthinkable with Sakshan earlier. Annette soon confirms all his suspicions, causing Sensei to lament his fate even more, as his life seems destined to fail in everything he tries. Nevertheless, Annette does not waste time chatting and quickly begins to explain what Sensei needs to be done to save this world. Annette continues speaking until she sees a bottle of sedatives that has fallen, which Sensei consumes entirely, entering the afterlife. However, Annette promptly uses purifying light and incantations to save him. At that moment, Sensei actually wants Annette to stop because she is only disrupting his plans. However, Annette cannot understand this attitude, as she believes that the person in front of her is a hero who must end the evil that envelopes the world and almost failed to fulfill this important mission just because of a few pills. Although Sensei has his own interest, he makes sure that he does not care about this unreasonable mission because he is only looking for a peaceful place to go, whether it be heaven or hell. Unfortunately, this is something Annette cannot comprehend, as it is not how a chosen one in her world should behave. Annette's words disturb Sensei quite a bit, as he never asked to be chosen for anything, which leads Annette to confirm whether Sensei is really the chosen one by asking if he had ever encountered a truck before arriving here. Hearing this, Sensei confirms it, as it was the same truck that ruined all his plans. This slightly reassures Annette, as she knows that the truck was part of the lottery to another world, and it is an absolute stroke of luck that Sensei could be here. It turned out from all the truly unhappy people in the previous world, only a few are chosen by the sacred teleportation truck that sends unhappy people to this world to obtain something they could not get before. So Annette refers to them as celestial request beings between worlds. At the same time, Sensei continues to take his pills until he hears someone calling him both unlucky and fortunate because he could leave his old life just to save the whole world. Something that should make him happy. This makes Sensei even angrier, leading him to show his seriousness to Annette by saying that he is starting to understand that the truck that changed his life has interfered with the only moment of happiness in his unhappy life, which was his departure with Sakshan. This statement from Sensei makes Annette realize that she has brought someone who no longer wants to live in this world or any world, causing Sensei to continue berating her for deciding something for someone else and thinking that adventure brings happiness to everyone. Before Annette leaves, she knows that Sensei is just a sad human who will soon change his mind about this world. So, Annette quickly shows her attributes, which will surely be liked by him, because all humans who come to this world always gain super abilities. Unfortunately, Annette discovers that Sensei somehow has high-level poison attributes in his body and is only at level 1 with just 1 life point, despite having purified it not long ago. Therefore, Sensei, who comes from another world, appears to Annette to be at a very pathetic level. But this is too much for Sensei, who wants to leave before losing consciousness in the castle. However, Annette does not let him go so easily. Feeling a bit guilty, she takes the opportunity to apologize for not knowing about his condition, and perhaps he was indeed brought to this world by mistake. Even so, Sensei has no chance of surviving if he exits through that door, because his stats are too weak. This is quickly accepted by Sensei, who confirms that he is used to being the weakest and destined to fail. However, this only makes Annette more saddened, and she quickly admits all her mistakes, recognizing that not everyone thinks the same way. She also pleads with Sensei to stay with her a little longer. Unexpectedly, surviving in this world is very difficult. If Sensei goes out with his current attributes, a creature will most likely easily end his life. Hearing this, Sensei doesn't care and reminds Annette that he is only looking for a good place to go to the afterlife. Thus, Annette finally realizes that the person in front of her truly does not want to continue living. This makes Annette recall a bit of her early days working, where guiding outsiders to her world gave her satisfaction in fulfilling her duties. At that time, Annette welcomed everyone who appeared before her with a big smile because it was very pleasant to meet people from other worlds. However, this time is different from all the other humans Annette has received because simple words like, "You are the chosen one," usually make them all happy. But now, Annette has someone who is very different in front of her. With no other choice, Annette asks Sensei to choose a profession before leaving, which makes Sensei laugh because he has been a writer since birth and always will be. Finally, as Sensei leaves the room, something crosses Annette's mind, so she always hopes that someone like Sensei can survive in this world. Not long after, Sensei's adventure in a world he does not care much about begins. Unexpectedly, as soon as he steps out, he immediately feels a headache, as a voice begins to congratulate him for reaching the Great Eastern Plain, thus earning 5 experience points. However, Sensei cannot endure hearing this for long because he always experiences migraines. To make matters worse, a young girl nearby appears to be caught by a deadly tree. Seeing this, Sensei becomes more interested in the fact that he has met 2 beautiful women in a short time and thinks that being on the brink of death isn't so bad after all. However, the young girl immediately asks for his help because she is truly in danger, prompting Sensei to use all his abilities to try to reach her without magic. Unexpectedly, Sensei ends up getting caught, making the problem with the deadly tree their responsibility. The young woman then explains that the tree absorbs all vital energy from those trapped in less than 2 minutes. Sensei finds this interesting and starts asking the young woman if she is also enthusiastic about what is going to happen. In that condition, Sensei is completely absorbed by the tree, but the effect is not severe as the branches of the tree quickly explode after consuming a small amount of energy from him. Instead of being pleased to be alive, Sensei laments the wasted effort that prevented him from moving on to the afterlife. Moreover, the system in his head reveals that his poison attribute has killed the tree. At that moment, the cat girl named Tama, who is also with him, feels sure that Sensei is deliberately acting this way, even though he is actually very strong. As Sensei lights a cigarette, he feels sad again, but things change when Tama reassures him that there is no need to be sad because at least he is still alive. Additionally, Tama wants to take Sensei to her home and prepare a delicious meal as a thank you. Unbeknownst to her, this reminds Sensei of the promise he made to Sakshan, who should also be in this world. This thought reignites Sensei's spirit, and for the first time, he feels he has a reason to stay alive to find Sakshan. Moreover, Sensei is confident that Sakshan was hit by the same truck, so she is likely in the same world, giving him hope to do the unthinkable with his beloved again. Meanwhile, Annette is seen praying to the gods to protect the adventurer who was brought to this world by accident, and that their fates might reunite. Soon after, Annette is also surprised because they have reunited sooner than she expected since Sensei has returned to her. This makes her very happy, and she rushes to hug him. However, upon hearing another woman's voice, Annette quickly stops. At that moment, Annette does not understand how Sensei could find a woman in this world so quickly. Worse still, Sensei has only returned to ask if she knows someone named Sakshan in this world, which makes Annette even sadder because it seems Sensei is not satisfied with just one woman. Not long after, outside, Tama is seen cheering Sensei on as they are about to arrive at a beautiful city. As she holds Sensei's hand, Annette quickly slaps her hand because it is considered too embarrassing. Seeing Annette blush in front of Sensei, Tama quickly understands everything and asks if she has feelings for Sensei. Hearing this, Annette quickly denies it, saying that as a member of the church, she is only accompanying him because it is her duty to guide him. This explanation makes Tama understand why Sensei is so strong. When Tama tells Annette that Sensei has saved her life, something in Annette feels jealous, knowing that they have become so close. As night falls, Sensei decides to sleep inside a coffin, and unexpectedly, Annette seems to want to try moving it even though she has no strength. For this reason, Annette and Tama try to lift the coffin together until they can no longer hold it. Afterward, Tama asks for some consideration because it is unfair for Sensei to sleep while they are struggling, but gets no response. They immediately suspect that Sensei has died, although Annette checks his stats and quickly confirms that he is still alive. However, Tama still doubts it, recalling all the ways Sensei has tried to move on to the afterlife. Since they are very close to the castle, they decide to make one last effort to bring Sensei. Meanwhile, Sensei was resting peacefully inside his coffin filled with roses, dreaming about Sakshan. At that time, Sensei was enjoying their moment together again, but as he reveled in this dream, time passed quickly, and they eventually arrived at the castle. After Sensei was woken up, he saw a place vastly different from the world he was in before. Without wasting time, Annette immediately asked Sensei to go to the royal castle because they wanted to meet the king directly. Additionally, he had to leave the coffin he had been using behind in the city. At evening, Sensei's group met King Thomas and Princess Charlotte, who seemed to be kind. Thomas even offered them rest in the castle, though he mentioned a small additional condition before they could rest, where Thomas enjoyed hearing stories from travelers who visit the castle. Upon hearing this request, Sensei couldn't share much since he had just arrived, so he merely offered to tell an extraordinary story about what it felt like to sleep in a coffin, which left the king silent and somewhat confused, even thinking that Sensei was threatening him. To calm the situation, Annette began complimenting how beautiful Princess Charlotte was, which luckily worked well, as Thomas agreed. At that point, Thomas also explained that his daughter was soon to be married, prompting Sensei and the others to ask for more details about the wedding. Thomas then called two men to enter. First, Gomez, a strong soldier, and second, a merchant. Thomas explained that the Dark Lord had recently begun gaining more influence over the kingdom. Since he was too old to handle this threat, Thomas had chosen these two men as candidates to be the next king, as well as Charlotte's future husband. Unfortunately, Charlotte did not want to choose between the two men. After explaining this, Thomas sought Sensei's opinion on choosing between Gomez or Corrado as the right person for his daughter to make the future king who would protect the entire kingdom. However, Sensei responded rather indifferently, stating that he was only concerned with finding Sakshan, who come with him from another world. Hearing this, Annette and Tama quickly apologized for Sensei's rude behavior. However, Thomas understood that Sensei was not from this world and did not fully grasp what was happening, so the king immediately forgave him. At the same time, Charlotte watched from afar, seemingly curious. That night, Sensei couldn't sleep at all, especially when Annette woke up and asked why he couldn't sleep. Sensei revealed that he had never been able to sleep peacefully at night. Wanting to know more about him, Annette asked about Sakshan, as she didn't know what kind of person Sakshan was. However, Sensei didn't explain and instead pointed out that there was a shameless person sleeping beside him, leading to a bit of a quarrel. Sensei then decided to walk around the castle until he eventually found Princess Charlotte, who was admiring the nighttime scenery. With a brief greeting, Sensei approached Charlotte to talk about how beautiful the lake looked with the reflection of the moon above it, while mentioning that he had a strong urge to jump into it. Charlotte was shocked and quickly asked if Sensei was truly so wounded that he wanted to do the unthinkable. Sensei then reassured Charlotte that he was stronger than he seemed, and Charlotte did not argue. At that moment, Charlotte explained that she was having difficulty choosing between Gomez and Corrado since she had only just met them, though her father said they were trustworthy. Still, Charlotte wasn't entirely convinced. Additionally, Charlotte had always written songs for herself whenever she felt sad since she was a child. Charlotte then asked Sensei for advice on what she should do, noting that she was very different from him in every way. After all, Charlotte was a kind young woman who cared for her father. However, Sensei quickly refuted this, mentioning that his life had been terrible in every way, and for that reason, he had attempted to do the unthinkable many times, disrupting his father's life. Nevertheless, Sensei stated one important thing in his life. He never asked anyone to decide how a person should live their life. These simple, yet realistic words surprised Charlotte, giving her the confidence that she needed to make her own decision, while asking herself many questions until she found the answer she sought. The next day, Thomas was seen calling Sensei and his group once again to announce something important from Charlotte, who had finally decided whom she would marry. Hearing this, Annette was pleased to know that this decision was the best for the kingdom and immediately mentioned that Gomez was the best choice. Unexpectedly, when Charlotte began talking about the man she would marry, she mentioned that she had asked herself who could be the ideal partner for her. As a result, Charlotte quickly took Sensei's hand and proposed that they go to the afterlife together, shocking everyone in the room. Charlotte then revealed to Sensei that she had spent the entire night thinking about what they had discussed and had finally come to one answer. Charlotte shared how, whenever she felt sad, Otto would write songs for her and sing them. However, Charlotte never mentioned that Otto did this without being asked. That's why their conversation yesterday weighed heavily on her, even though it didn't offend the man at all. Charlotte further explained that Gomez wouldn't be chosen because he smelled terrible. However, before she could say more, Thomas nearly forced Charlotte to choose between his two best soldiers. But Charlotte asked her father to stop being stubborn because she didn't want to marry and didn't understand why everyone was making decisions without asking her opinion first. Charlotte then chose Sensei again because he was the first person to truly listen to her. Sensei understood this and also remembered that they had mentioned facing problems together, which piqued his interest. At the same time, Gomez began acting strangely, revealing his true form as a servant of the Dark Lord. Moreover, Gomez lamented that he couldn't peacefully take over the kingdom to hand it to his master, all because Charlotte had exposed his disguise. Even though Charlotte had merely spoken the truth, that he really did smell bad. As the result, they faced a bigger problem as Gomez intended to seize the throne by force and kill everyone, while Annette remained unconscious. At that moment, Tama tried everything to wake her. Unfortunately, it was in vain as she was still asleep. A moment later, Thomas ordered his battalion to attack Gomez, but they were easily defeated in an instant. Unable to wake Annette, Tama decided to attack Gomez herself to put up some resistance. Tama, who was at level 15 and focused on martial arts, while Otto, at level 89, began singing for her, as if giving her strength, even though no actual effect was shown. This action confirmed Charlotte's claim that Otto just wanted them to hear his new song, and these songs were somewhat intriguing to Sensei. Watching how they put in every effort to land a blow on Gomez, Sensei thought about how to face the monster, as Gomez had declared he would finish them off quickly and painlessly. Sensei took advantage of that offer, asking to attack him swiftly, while the princess joined him. Hearing this, Gomez saw it as an opportunity because, after eliminating them, he would only need to dispose of the king to take over the kingdom. As Sensei prepared to accept the attack, Charlotte began regretting what she had done. The princess became more honest, confessing that she didn't want to die and wished to live for her people. Hearing this, Sensei immediately released her from their promise because he couldn't be her companion while waiting for her to be ready. At the same time, Annette finally woke up and quickly placed her best shield on Sensei, who was at level 183. The shield proved strong, as Gomez's horns couldn't break it. This created a clear opening for Tama to use her punch, striking Gomez in his unprotected stomach and sending him flying into the river. After doing so, Tama promptly thanked Annette for her help, and Annette thanked Tama for protecting her while she was unconscious. After a new friendship was formed, Otto wanted to create another song, but he began to feel overly excited. Meanwhile, Thomas apologized to Charlotte, admitting that he was wrong for ignoring her feelings and apologizing for all the mistakes he had made. Hearing this, Charlotte simply asked her father that they start communicating with each other more often so that such things would not happen again. After that incident, Charlotte wondered how she could survive another day in this world. Eventually, Charlotte became the new queen of the kingdom. Some time later, Annette and Tama were seen taking Sensei to continue their journey. At that time, they started talking about Charlotte, who would be ruling the kingdom at the age of 16. Sensei seemed confident that Charlotte could handle it, and he gave a farewell glance to the kingdom with a poem. Sensei also began to mention the beauty of women as they finally chose their own paths. Hearing that, Annette and Tama hoped Sensei would choose his own path because dragging that heavy coffin was very exhausting. The scene also showed Annette's past, where she was injured but still asked someone to check on the person she had brought to the church. During their journey, they felt hungry, so Annette stopped for a while. Sensei then asked for boiled tofu to eat, but since Annette didn't know that food, she became curious about the mysterious dish and promised to get it for Sensei. Not long after, they had trouble deciding on the best place to stop before reaching their destination. According to the map, it would be better to go to the nearest temple, as adventurers usually go to such places after facing the Dark Lord. However, Sensei did not want to pursue this main mission because it would be easier to find Sakshan. Although Sensei knew it might be possible, he still couldn't hide his fear because this world was too vast to find someone they had never met. Despite this, Annette still wanted to try for Sensei, who had been sent to this world, which made her feel somewhat guilty for failing in her great mystical duty. Even though Tama thought this was just an unreasonable excuse, she also felt something for Sensei. However, Annette quickly reminded her that it wasn't an excuse, but rather a sincere desire to help Sensei because she had realized all the mistakes she had made in her work. Tama then reminded Annette that they were actually looking for Sensei's girlfriend, something that made Annette feel jealous in her heart. However, since Annette was Sensei's guide in this world, she felt she had to do it. Hearing that, Tama then encouraged her and decided to help them as best she could before they finally reached the village they were heading to. After hearing this, Sensei did not scold Melas, but reassured him that Melas was not a bad pet for returning to his owner. Feeling sleepy, Sensei decided to go back to sleep, while Annette pondered what trouble might arise from undertaking this forbidden journey. Suddenly, Melas sensed something wrong and became alert until he eventually fled the area. The reason Melas fled was the appearance of a large red dragon, a creature feared in this world for its immense power. However, before the dragon could attack them, it was stopped by the voice of a mysterious woman who approached while speaking in a strange language. The woman seemed to communicate with the dragon and tried to calm it. Shortly after, the woman asked Annette and Tama to leave the area immediately because the place they were about to pass through was filled with monsters. From the woman's words, it seemed many had already fallen victim, but it was actually due to someone with a strange mode of transportation being there. The mysterious woman then saw Sensei and immediately realized that he was an outsider from another world. The mysterious woman instantly prepared to fight because something drove her to eliminate all the strangers before her. With a strong aura and powerful spells, the battle began. At that moment, Annette tried to block the attack by creating a strong barrier to protect Sensei. Annette tried her best because the woman was very powerful, and although injured, Annette knew she had to do it to protect Sensei, as he wouldn't do anything to save his own life. Additionally, this fight was challenging because their enemy could control gravity in the area. While observing the enemy, Annette noticed a strange symbol and immediately recognized the identity of the young woman as the Dark Lord they were facing. The Dark Lord ruthlessly decided to finish off her enemies. However, Sensei quickly asked the Dark Lord to stop bothering them. Although the Dark Lord hated outsiders, it didn't give her the right to harm others. Therefore, Sensei willingly offered his life to save Annette and Tama. The woman accepted Sensei's offer and, without hesitation, stabbed his heart, ending his life. Before leaving them, the Dark Lord revealed her name, Waldelia, to Sensei. Unexpectedly, Sensei didn't die immediately because he managed to say a few words to assure Waldelia that he understood her hatred. Sensei's words reminded Waldelia of a time in her past when she also wanted to stab someone and even sent a threatening letter to her victim. This frightened Waldelia because she was facing someone who truly understood her feelings. Not only that, Sensei offered his help, stating that he would listen to all of her problems if needed. Before becoming even more confused, Waldelia called her dragon to quickly leave the place, impressed by the impression that Sensei had made on her. However, this didn't change the confused state of the group. Fortunately, Melas, who had been observing from afar, bravely led them to the nearest temple. Additionally, Melas transformed into a magic carpet to carry them quickly in order to save Sensei. At the temple, a woman dressed similarly to Annette was forced to summon all the priests in the area due to the emergency, even though they were not immediately informed about what had actually happened to Sensei. The next day, Sensei and Tama were seen going to the shops in town to look for poison. At that moment, Sensei immediately drank the poison in front of the crowd. Tama then felt that Sensei needed to explain what had happened to him last night. However, Sensei tried to assure her that they had taken great care of him last night so that he could survive. Additionally, Sensei revealed that he felt strange because drinking the poison made him feel normal again. Not long after, they met Isha, the person who had saved Sensei. At that time, Isha mentioned that she didn't know anyone named Sakshan. More importantly, Isha wanted to know why Annette was traveling with an outsider, especially after she had mysteriously disappeared from her temple. Although this made Isha a bit scared, she also felt relieved because she always knew that Annette was too innocent for such a job. Unfortunately, Isha remained concerned because traveling with an outsider wasn't right, especially since Isha believed that outsiders were just as dirty as the others. At the same time, another strange outsider approached them, and Isha immediately realized that her suspicion was correct. However, the strange man couldn't be ignored because he told them about his strange power to create unlimited coins and offered money to two beautiful elves nearby. Hearing this, Isha immediately rejected the money because she was fed up with strange outsiders, even though Annette wanted to tell her how different Sensei was from the others. Isha didn't allow it, insisting that if Annette stayed too long with Sensei, she would surely end up badly. Annette then quickly revealed that she had a different view of Sensei because he had freed her and made her who she was now, so Annette felt indebted to him. Not long after, Sensei was seen approaching to ask for money, and Annette gave him all the coins she had. Because of this, Isha realized it was too late to warn Annette about the danger, so she wanted to know what special abilities Sensei had. Annette then honestly admitted that Sensei had no powers or magical abilities in this world. However, he had bravely faced the Dark Lord to save them, which greatly surprised Isha. Moreover, the idea that a stranger could encounter the Dark Lord seemed impossible since they had just defeated the Dark Lord not long ago. This was confirmed when they caught a glimpse of the demon's territory, where the kingdom lay in total ruins, with many people suffering from the loss of loved ones. Therefore, Isha felt it made more sense to despise outsiders and stop them. When Tama learned that there was no final mission because someone had defeated the Dark Lord, she was overjoyed that they could finally live in peace. The only thing left was to find out who had faced the Dark Lord. This also raised another question. If they had defeated the Dark Lord a week ago, how could Waldelia have been recruited just a few days ago? Without the Dark Lord, there was no reason for them to come to this place. Besides, they only had Sensei, who appeared depressed and was thinking about writing something. Unexpectedly, since Sensei came to this world, something within him had changed completely because he couldn't find inspiration from what Annette offered as a source of inspiration for writing. However, when Annette heard that Sensei didn't want to write about her, something inside her heart was hurt again. Even so, Sensei suddenly felt inspired when a wall appeared before him, which made Annette a little worried. Later, Annette gave a great suit of armor to Sensei because he would be in danger if he encountered the demon who had once hurt him again. Although Sensei didn't completely hate being with them, he decided to stay alone for a while until his friends provided him with more protection, which eventually made him the center of attention for the children. Some time later, Isha approached Sensei to reveal that Annette had always been someone with a very pure heart, which made Isha trust her deeply to this day. Unfortunately, the fact that Annette was with a stranger by her side and might end up with him made Isha very worried. As a friend, Isha felt that she had to do something, and the best course of action was to ask Sensei to send Annette away from the group. However, Sensei knew he couldn't do that and only Annette could decide whether to follow him or not. Unlike Isha, who he believed was just a bird trapped in a cage, Annette had a choice. At the same time, everyone in the village noticed a mysterious figure named Suzuki, who was responsible for defeating the Dark Lord a week ago. While Suzuki informed the village, he couldn't stop staring at Isha. That's when Suzuki began talking about how difficult life was for outsiders in this world, as they were the only ones fighting against evil. Even so, Suzuki quickly took control of the entire town, as he felt entitled to be the leader, which frightened everyone in the area. Not long after, his companion, a man with the power to create unlimited coins, recognized the girls who had rejected him. Suzuki immediately chased after the young women. Attacking outsiders was not something easily forgiven, which quickly led to a war that would soon break out, ultimately resulting in the village being burned down. That fire might rekindle Sensei's desire to write. Moral lesson from the story: even if you're destined to be a hero in another world, sometimes the best adventure is finding the nearest tofu shop. And remember, if a truck changes your life, at least make sure it delivers good snacks.